What's up with your butter? What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel and welcome to your favorite with your messy ass story time. Second part to be exact. If you guys have not checked out the first part, I will leave it here. It's definitely essential that you guys know what happened up until this point, but today's story is going to be a continuation of one of my coworkers messing with our seasonal intern. Now, before we jump right into this story time, I just have a few things to say. Okay, and I mentioned this on my IG stories. If you guys want to follow me, you can find all my info here. But anyways, I was telling you guys on my stories that I was going through my comments of the last part. And I know a lot of my glamazons love playing judge and jury. Like, who do we blame in this situation? Like, who is responsible? And a lot of y'all were going back and forth about what woman is the problem. I'm just sitting here like, wait, what? Y'all trying to figure out who's the issue between Brittany and Jennifer? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Brad, 150% to blame. And I'm going to tell you why. One of the comments that I saw was like, maybe Brittany knew that Jennifer was going to be like a woman that her man was attracted to. Okay, and like, we have to stop trying to justify treating other women like that just because we think that our men's is going to be attracted to her. Because like, guess what? That's not her problem. Not at all. We have to start holding these men accountable. If he is your man and he is your rock and he is your ride or die bitch, then it doesn't matter who the fuck is in his face. It doesn't matter who tries it with him. It does not matter. A man of integrity knows exactly how to deal with them hoes. That way you're not put in the position to have to do that because guess what? He's a man. Secondly, I was like super shocked that like a lot of y'all were just jumping over the fact that Brittany was pulling this shit in conference rooms with like a branch manager, like an executive, and also she worked at headquarters. Jennifer had been doing this seasonal job for like 3 years at this point, and she really wanted to excel, gain experience, and possibly grow within the company. But if you have somebody like Brittany that is working at headquarters that has no problem downplaying her role, her position, her job, all of the work that she's done, that's not cool either. All because she was jealous. That's it. And see, that's not enough of a reason to me to mistreat somebody just because of a man. Now, here's why I say this, y'all. Y'all are my best friends. Y'all are my glamazons. And I just want y'all to be a better version. I just want y'all to be better than I was. And I want y'all to learn from my shit. And if there's anything that I have learned over the years, nobody has the right to treat you like shit just because they feel bad about themselves. And I know a lot of us have been on the receiving end of this where you meet a girl and they just fucking treat you like shit. And they talk down to you. They will try to affect your career, your job, you know, your friendships. They'll try it. They're that fucking jealous. And most of us, if not all of us, have dealt with somebody treating us like that, right? Okay, so we can't be one of them. We cannot, mama. We gotta break this shit because it is causing so many women to turn against each other for what? For dusty ass men. If he's gonna be dusty, rusty, and nasty, he's gonna be that way no matter what. Brittany had no reason coming out of fucking left field and treating Jennifer like that from jump. I don't care. Jennifer had not done anything, but best believe Jennifer got tired because Jennifer's a human. And I'm not saying Jennifer was the saint in all of this, but what I am saying is that I worked with her and like she really was not a bitch like that. And I just feel like it was because of the way that she looked. If she was a regular looking person, if she was somebody that wasn't seen as a threat, nobody would be treating her like that. Women would not be treating her like that. I feel like that's very unfair, very unprofessional, and very uncalled for. It's like if you're choosing to bring your mans in this environment, well then you chose to do that. And you better have some trust with your mans. Because people really be trying to put their relationship issues on other people. And I'm just like, no ma'am. If I have a problem and if I feel insecure because my man might think that this bitch is fine, well then that's an issue between me and my mans. But that's because she didn't trust his ass. And she didn't trust his ass for a reason. Let's find out why. I definitely left the office very much like high on tea because I was like, this is like, you know how when you see something and you know that it's not right, but it's also not your business. And also, like, I don't fucks with Brittany like that. Like, I wouldn't call her a friend. You know what I mean? So it's not enough for me to get involved. But I definitely knew about it. I really was like, you know what? I know Jennifer. This is honestly probably about work. They're probably just trying to knock this out because Jennifer does work on a part-time basis. I don't lose a wink of sleep about it, bitch. So fast forward, everything goes on as normal. It's not like they were stuck at the hip or anything at work after this. They kept on having their conversations, very brief at her cubicle. He started peeking his head out of the office and telling Jennifer to come into his office instead. At first, I remember like one of the first times that he did this, like Jennifer wasn't used to it. And he like leaned down and was like, hey, Jennifer, like, can you come look at something in here for me? Like, I'm trying to organize this. Can you come help me? And he was telling her to come in his office. And she was like, yeah, okay, I'll be right there. And when she got up, she looked at me like, oh, because like even for her, it was just not the norm. Well, bitch, she goes in there. I guess they're talking about work or whatever. But from then on, every time he needed to talk to Jennifer, she had to go into his office and he would shut the door. And, me being messy, of course, like, I don't know, like, that was just a little weird. In my mind, where Jennifer was in her cubicle, she had, like, her, computer and stuff on one side, but she had, like, a bunch of space, on the rest of her cubicle in order to lay out a bunch of documents. And I knew Brad's office, and he didn't have that space, so if they really wanted to go over something with, like, a lot of documents, it would make more sense to do it out of her cubicle, but I digress. I don't want to accuse anybody, but I did find that weird. I didn't start getting a weird feeling about this whole situation until I don't know how much time had gone by or how often up until this point he had pulled her into his office, but it had been, frequent. And so one day the mail comes in and, part of my job is to sort through it, get rid of all of the junk mail, and then I would deliver the mail to my reps and to my boss. I would always divide it into like one side of the office versus the other, right? So I took one half and, again, my office is shaped like a U. So I took one half, I deliver it to all of my reps, and every time I would deliver mail, girl, I would literally spend like 10-15 minutes in each of their offices because like I could not just drop off the mail. Then they would have like questions about the projects that we're doing, PPAs that I'm looking at, like analysis and shit like that, or like asking me about like, just pulling me into different things, especially my own supervisor. He was notorious for that, right? This ordeal of just handing out the mail oftentimes take like more than an hour, bitch. I'm not even kidding. So I get through all of this half side and I'm just really trying to hurry up and get this over with because I got my own work to do. So I don't even sit down. I just immediately grab the other half of the mail and I go around the other side. And so I'm going down the hallway and this side is where Brad's office is, right? And as I'm going down, I notice that Jennifer's not at her desk. And immediately when I don't see her, I assume that she's in Brad's office. And I didn't even realize that that was just like a subconscious thought now that every time I don't see her, she's probably in Brad's office. In the hall, and I drop off a few pieces of mail to my other reps, and finally I get to Brad's office and I'm standing outside and I can literally hear Jennifer and Brad inside talking. And like, I'm not gonna lie, bitch, I took a few seconds. I did. I don't know why. I was just being nosy, I guess. I just wanted to know, like, is this what I think it is? Or like, because I don't immediately assume this about my friend. Like, Jennifer, maybe she was my friend, So anyways, girl, so I take a few seconds. I just hear Jennifer laughing. And like, I bet they're getting sick of seeing us. Like, we have our own waiter. Can you believe that? And she was like, oh my God, we go there too often. Maybe we should go somewhere else. So I'm like, like, that sounded a little sus. Basically, the consensus was like they had been somewhere so often that whoever was working there was starting to like notice and remember them, and they didn't like that, and so they wanted to go somewhere else. Like, that's just a quick synopsis of what I think I hear. Okay, silence. They both go silent immediately. Okay, I hear Brad come in. I go in there, and Jennifer is making her way from around the desk back to in front of the desk where he had chairs. So she was obviously behind the desk with him. And I opened the door and she was making her way back to the chairs. Do with that what you want. So she ends up sitting down. She's turning towards me and I have the mail in my hand and I'm like, hey, Brad, the tension that I was walking into. Now, here's what got me about Brad. He held it together really well. And like, he would not show a sign that he had been caught off guard or anything. He was very good at like staying calm. So he held it together. Jennifer, bitch, she's looking at me and she like this. You know when your girl is looking at you like, girl, oh, okay. So I try not to make it awkward. Like, this ain't none of my business. There have been so many times in my life where especially working in offices where just by happenstance, dude, like I would fucking see shit that I knew was inappropriate or that I knew, and like it was just too much, and I'm in and out within 5 seconds. Fast forward, finally, Brad gets this project. It's the big client that I told you guys that my supervisor passed on to him and just like fucking handed it to him, which is a big deal because like this was a very well off client. Now, the commission that the reps got off of these files and these customers could be a lot. This client had buku bucks, okay? So it was gonna make Brad a shit ton of money. I was just so shocked, girl, for lack of better words. But with Jennifer's help, he was able to like get everything transferred over seamlessly, get all of his files updated. She updated his filing system in his office, all of that. And one day comes around and he has that client come in to meet with my supervisor and Brad. I guess this was going to be like a first time face to face. They had spoken over the phone, but the client wanted to meet the representative that was going to be overlooking his account. Like, obviously. So my supervisor gives me a heads up, tells me Mr. So-and-so's coming in tomorrow. We want everything to be pristine and super professional. So he gives us a heads up, right? Later on, Jennifer comes in for her shift. And so I end up telling her, I'm like, hey, we got to really pull it together, be really polished tomorrow. Mr. So-and-so is coming in to meet with Brad. So she like looks at me and she's like, oh my God, he's coming in. And I was like, yeah. And so this is when she starts telling me about like the client file. And she was like, this man's got like buku money. And like, it was crazy going through all of his statements and shit. And so, we're kind of gossiping about this guy and all of his real estate and all this shit. And she knows a lot about this guy's file. Well, fast forward, next day comes around. We all come, in our business attire, and, I get the office looking good, everything organized. Finally, Mr. So-and-so comes in. He actually has a fucking assistant with him that sat out in the waiting room while he was having his meetings. She and I kind of talked for a little bit, but anyways, so when he gets there, we had reserved the conference room for him, and my supervisor and Brad came to greet him at the front and took him into the conference room, right? Well, they're getting him seated in there, and we get him water, coffee, whatever, and all of a sudden, Brad, peeks his head out of the conference room, and he was like, Jennifer, come in here, like, I need you in here on this meeting. And Jennifer is completely caught off guard. And she's like, wait, what? And he was like, yeah, like, I need you in here. Come on. And she's like, okay. So she reluctantly goes in there. And apparently Brad had given her a huge thank you and introduced Jennifer to this client as somebody who had a huge hand and, taking care of his file and taking care of his account. And that is huge, y'all. That is so huge. It was like a long ass meeting, right? And this man was very thorough about his assets and all of that. And before I knew it, lunchtime came around, right? This office was like located in the middle of nowhere, so I didn't go anywhere for my lunch. I used to like sit out at this park that was nearby or just sit in my car and eat. I go out to my car and I just be on my phone or whatever, and I was sitting out there and all of a sudden I see Brittany roll up, bitch. I see Brittany roll up, and immediately I'm like, I don't know why, I just could feel it. So I see her roll up. She gets out of her car, walks across the street. I messy ass, I grab my purse and I get out of my car. It is nearing like the end of my lunch, girl, okay? But, I'm messy, wet. So I follow her inside, right? So I'm like behind her and I follow her inside into our suite. So she walks in, she doesn't say nothing to nobody because like there's literally nobody out in the front. So, I walk in right behind her, and by this time she's in the kitchen. There's something in there. So I go around and I sit at my desk, right? Sit down my purse. She comes out of the kitchen. She sees me and she's like, hey, I didn't think anybody was here. And I was like, oh yeah, I just got back from my lunch break. And she was like, oh, okay. And she was like, where is everybody? My reps were always so fucking loud and like, whatever. And so I explained to Brittany, Mr. So-and-so's here. So like we really stepped it up a notch. And so, we wanted to make sure the office was pristine and they're having the meeting right now. And she was like, oh. And so the way our conference room was literally right behind me, bitch. And it was a huge conference room. And although it was glass, big chunk of the middle of the glass had frost on it. So you could only see way up near the ceiling or like way low near the floor, So like all the middle was frosted. So you could basically just see their feet. So I see her start going like this, and she was like, who else is in there? Well, it's, my boss. I was like, and it's Brad, and it's Mr. So-and-so. And she goes, uh-huh. And she goes, and who else? And I was like, Jennifer's in the meeting. That's odd. I've never known an intern to meet with clients. Don't attack the messenger, bitch. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. She starts pressing me, bitch. And she's like, I'm gonna call my boss Rob, okay? She was like, did Rob tell her to be in this meeting? And I was like, and like, I knew that everything that I was gonna say, she was gonna verify with my supervisor or her man's. No, I don't think so. So Brad asked that Jennifer was in the meeting. I don't know. I lied through my teeth. And I was like, honestly, I don't really know exactly how that happened or who asked her. I was like, it happened so fast. So she's right here near my desk and she's having this conversation. And all of a sudden, Mr. So-and-so's assistant comes back. I guess she had went and gotten herself some lunch as well. So she comes back, she sits down in our little seating area, which is not that big. And so immediately Brittany shuts down. But when I tell you, she was so fucking pissed. Tell Brad that I'm waiting in his office. And I was like, okay, all right, yeah. There goes Brittany. She goes storming down the hallway. She goes into Brad's office and she doesn't slam the door, but she very much like aggressively shuts it. And I'm like, okay. Fast forward, the meeting finally ends. Start making their way out. They're talking. Client's in a good mood, so it seems everybody is just like very cheerful, whatever. So it's a good sign. And, they're coming out. They're kind of, saying their formalities and their goodbyes and stuff. They kind of just linger right there by my desk, just kind of saying their last few things. And all of a sudden, I see Brad and Jennifer kind of like break off and they're heading towards his office. Bitch, my supervisor and this high-end client is literally right here by my desk. Like, if I would have rolled my chair out, I probably would have hit one of them. There was nothing I could do. I did not want to yell down at Jennifer or Brad and be like, Brad, your wife is in there. Brittany is here. And I see Brad swing open his office door to let Jennifer walk in. I literally see Jennifer's body jolt. And she takes one step into Brad's office. You could tell, bitch, that Brittany is sitting right there. And she was like, oh shit. Jennifer takes 2-3 steps back, says something to Brad, and proceeds to turn and make her way back to the front to her cubicle. And Brad reluctantly goes into his office and gently shuts the door. Finally, the client leaves, and literally, bitch, not even 10 minutes after, Brittany and Brad are leaving. Now, the thing with my reps is they had full control over their schedules. If they wanted to be in the office all day, they could. If they didn't want to, they didn't have to. A lot of them came into the office to create a routine or whatever. But so he could leave, he could come and go anytime he pleased. It's 2:30 or something, and all of a sudden I see her with her purse and she is fucking pissed. She's walking out and here comes Brad, tail tucked between his legs, walking out with her, not making eye contact with Jennifer, not making eye contact with me, not a good afternoon, not have a good day, not nothing. And they both fucking leave. Y'all, it was so evident that mess, you know what I mean? Brittany had really gotten fucking pissed. I think it was bad enough that Brad had invited Jennifer into this meeting that was really important and whatever, but it did not help that right after, bitch, here comes Jennifer going to walk into her husband's office like that, right? Fast forward and the end of the day comes around and we're packing up our stuff and Jennifer has not said anything to me. She gets all her stuff together and she goes into the copy room and I had to go in there to go get my lunch bag out of the fridge. We just start having small talk and she was mentioning how her workload was a lot less now that, this client had been updated and all of that had been done. So I take this opportunity and I'm like, how did the meeting go? That was crazy. And she was like, yeah. So she starts talking to me about that. And she was like, and she tells me I was not even expecting to be in on this meeting. I can't even believe they asked me to be in there. So then, bitch, she starts spilling the tea. And she starts telling me that while in the meeting, Brad was giving her a shit ton of kudos and telling that client, I have Jennifer to thank, we can thank her for all of this work. And apparently the client was very impressed with Jennifer's work. But after this project, I highly doubt we're gonna work together on anything again. And I was like, really? Why? And now she brings up what happened. And she was like, because I think that I may have upset Brittany. And I was like, so I start acting brand new and I'm like, what happened? And she was like, I didn't know that she was here. Yeah, she came after lunch, tried to go have like a meeting with Brad after, you know, our big meeting, and she was in his office already, and I don't think she liked that very much. We're just kind of like at a standstill, and I was like, okay, well, like, I'm gonna go, like, you know, have a good night, whatever. And she was like, oh yeah, you too. And she just very nonchalantly mentioned, like, oh, I will. I just, you know, I don't know what to do with myself now that I don't have dinners with Brad, or like now that I don't, like, you know, have my usual dinners with Brad or whatever. And I turned around and I was like, did you guys go to dinner like a lot? I mean, not like a lot, but you know, enough to get the project done. And I was like, oh, it's one of those situations when like your friend is doing something crazy, but they're like, it's not a big deal, and you're like, really, bitch, you know? So I'm like, just kind of trying to play neutral. This was the first time that I saw this side of Jennifer, but she did. She said it, and I don't remember the words verbatim. As per usual, I would let you know. I'm not gonna be fronting and saying that I remember like fucking verbatim, but like the fucking point was that she was saying, Brittany may not find my role important, but Brad sure does. Ah, okay. So I left the office that night knowing and understanding that what Brittany had been saying about Jennifer, to other people, really stung Jennifer. And I think that this was, I'm not saying that it's right, but it's the fucking root of why Jennifer was doing it. I think she was like trying to not only prove to herself, but prove to Brittany, like, bitch, my role here is important and your man thinks so too. Fast forward. And all of a sudden, this fucking convention comes around and we have to go. My supervisor was speaking at this event and he wanted his branch to be there, right? So he asked all of us to go. Downtown, it was going to be at the Ritz, and it was very like bougie, right? So I had to go get a cute outfit and I'm like super excited. So I ended up making plans with the HR lady that I work with, the older one. I made plans with her, carpool with her to the Ritz. Thursday or Friday after work, we were coming from work. Spouses were not allowed at this event. And so I was going to be going by myself. We ended up getting something to eat before going, and then I changed, and then we head off to this event, right? So I knew that we were invited, but I didn't know that it wasn't like all of our company. I come to find out that the only people that are invited to this event is just our branch. And I didn't realize this until we get to the Ritz. Very nice, and they have like this whole area. It's like, it's not even a conference room, bitch. It's like a huge like speaking room, and right outside they had like a cocktail room with like a few different bartenders, like very bougie, very nice. They had different speakers there. They're passing out pamphlets. And so we're in this cocktail room and I am just rubbing elbows with like all of these higher ups and all of these executives of different companies, different industries. I love networking. I love meeting new people. You know, my coworker and I start going around and mingling, and I'm meeting new people, and I'm standing by this bar. I'm talking to, you know, somebody new and just mingling or whatever. And I look up and bitch, I see Brad and Jennifer walk in together. They're not holding hands or anything, but they are walking pretty close. But they came in together, bitch. And honestly, I was shocked to see Jennifer. I really was. Like, I didn't even consider that she was coming, because like the day that this happened, she wasn't working in the office that day. You know what I mean? So like, I didn't even fucking think, but she is a part of our branch. So she got an invitation. And you know who didn't get an invitation because she's not a part of our branch? Brad's wife, Brittany. Now, this was very much like a wedding type of thing in the sense that they had actual assigned seating in the venue itself, like for the speaking portion. And so they sat us at different tables. I don't know how they fucking did it, but like it turned out like half the table was like your own peeps, and then another half was another company. And they said that they did that so that we could continue to mingle amongst, you know, other companies. I get seated with a few of my coworkers, Jennifer included, but Brad gets seated at another table with some of my other reps. When I tell you, like, every time I fucking turned around, googly eyes across the fucking, like, you know how speakers, you know, they have like these little comedy moments, you know, they make you laugh in the middle of their speech or whatever. Anytime we had a moment where we're like, like, you know, I would look over at Jennifer to be like, that's so funny. And bitch, she would be straight up looking right at Brad, and Brad would be looking right at her and be like, you know, and like, their just experience, God, they were in their own motherfucking world. And I was like, Listen, I am too messy to just be knowing about just the surface shit. Like, I really need to know, okay? Now, keep in mind, we had our cocktail hour before this. And so, we're not drunk, but we're not thirsty. We're feeling a little good because we've been having some wine and some cocktails out there. And so, fast forward, 2 speakers had gone by and they had like an intermission of sorts. People go to the bathroom and stuff. So everybody like gets up and they go back to the cocktail spot, and guess what? Getting more drinks, right? So me and Jennifer end up going to the bathroom together. And I could tell she's feeling a little loose. She's feeling a little fun. By the way, she looked absolutely stunning. She had on like a very beautiful cocktail dress, and it was hugging her in all the right places, and she just looked amazing. So we're in there, and it was me, Jennifer, and actually the HR lady that I worked with. We all went to the bathroom together. And even the HR lady that I worked with, like, I was seeing a whole different side of her too, because like she had been drinking or whatever. So we're just all having a good time, right? And the HR lady ends up leaving the bathroom, and it's just me and Jennifer in there, and we're just chit-chatting, right? So she and I, we chit-chat from the bathroom all the way out. We go to the cocktail bar together to go get another drink. We're standing at the bar, we get our drinks, we start sipping on our drinks, and it's almost time to go back into that room to, finish the speeches or whatever. I look over at Jennifer, and she's looking across the room, and she's looking right at Brad. And Brad's like mingling with like some of the other guys or whatever, networking. And I'm just like, I'm literally doing this. I'm feeling good. I need to know. I'm too nosy for this. I'm too nosy, bitch. I will bring it to you. If you are my friend, I'm gonna bring it to you, and I'm gonna fucking ask, okay? So I did. And I was like, Jenny, can I ask you something? Like, and I just want you to know, like, I'm not gonna judge you or anything. But I just noticed, are you and Brad getting like close? I mean, we've gotten close in ways. Jennifer, stop playing with me. What do you mean? Immediately she backtracks and she's like, we're just friends, Nikki. Like, he's just a really good friend of mine. And like, we've just spent like a lot of time together. And, he really has become like one of my really good friends. Okay. And then, bitch, she hits me with a really weird question. And she was like, are you staying here tonight? Where? Here. And I was like, at the Ritz? Bitch, I'm trying to make my rent every month. Do you think I can afford the Ritz? I was like, no, I'm not staying over. I was like, are you? She was like, oh my God, I wish. And I was like, right? I was like, why? She was like, some of the guys are staying here. And I was like, who? I knew my reps, okay? And they are not going to stay at the fucking Ritz. And I was like, who's staying? She said, well, I know Brad's got a room here. Brad's got a room here? Why? Why would Brad get a room at the Ritz? That apparently Brad has a client like meeting tomorrow, and it's going to be in the middle of downtown. So he figured, why not just get a room here since he's going to be here anyway for this event? And then from here, he'll go to his meeting with his client, and that way he's not like driving all over the place. So he's going to stay here. Okay, at first I thought this was super weird, but then fast forward and I find out that my boss is actually doing the same thing. I don't know if he had a meeting the next day, bitch, but he did say that he made it about like not wanting to drive afterward. I think he knew that he was going to get like a little... So he decided to get a room there too. And like some of the other, not my reps, but like some of the other execs were getting a room there. So it didn't really seem that out of place as the time went on. Fast forward, the rest of, the speeches go on. My supervisor ends up going on stage. He does an amazing job. And it was overall a really great event, right? We end the night and I'm riding back to my car with my coworker, the HR director, right? So I'm waiting for her to say her goodbyes or whatever. David had been checking on me, so I'm texting him, letting him know that I'm on my way back to my car. I'm about to go home, whatever. Y'all, it is literally a rule of mine. If I go out, I always have flats on me. And I used to have those flats that used to fold up, and I would put them in my purse. And so I remember going out into the fucking foyer, bitch, and like they had like these little chairs out there in the main part of the Ritz, and I sat down and like I switched out my shoes because I was not trying to walk the city streets to the car in my fucking heels. I don't play that. My coworker Janet, I was like, hey, can you stop for a second? I need to change my shoes. She was like, oh my God, really? She was like, yeah. So we go over to one of these chairs and I'm like switching them out, and she's literally looking at me pulling out these flats from my purse, and she was like, oh my God, like you had flats in your purse? And I was like, yeah, like whatever, these fold up. And so I'm like showing her, bitch, why? looking at her, bitch. And behind her is like the concierge desk of the Ritz. The first person that I saw was Brad, because he's kind of tall. I see Brad. And then I see Jennifer with Brad. And they're walking across the foyer. And they're going across the hotel. And bitch, I look at the direction that they're headed. It's the elevators. They're headed towards the elevators. I'm not going to lie. It was written all over my face. The minute that I saw them, like I stopped in my tracks and I was like, and like I'm watching them, right? And like my coworker, Janet, fucking notices, so she looks back and she literally sees the same thing. And she was like, and this is the first time that I have ever heard Janet tell me that she like knew something was going on. And she was like, they sure have been spending a lot of time together, huh? And I was like, again, stop asking me questions. I don't know. Like, I am not involved. I was like, I don't know. I guess. I don't know. And she was like, no, they have. And she was like, and I guess even more. Y'all, the look on her face. And I was like, we need to go. Y'all, immediately we get up, we get out of there. Now it's just kind of weird because our HR director of our branch knows that this situation is going on with an intern and one of our reps. Janet did not let that go. She did not. To my fucking surprise, the following week, I see Janet pull Brad and Jennifer into her office, bitch. And I don't know what they talked about, but you and I can probably fucking guess, okay? And when they came out, Jennifer looked like a little shook. And like, she just kind of looked down. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, her demeanor was just kind of like defeated. And Brad looked fucking scared. He looked terrified. After this meeting, whatever Janet said to the both of them, it made them stop in their fucking tracks. After that, I never heard about them going to dinner together, or like they wouldn't even hardly like look or talk to each other after that. I don't know if she said that y'all would get fired. Things definitely changed after that. All of it seemed to stop. After a few weeks, I'm like, oh, you know, they ain't talking no more. Like, you know, that ship has sailed. Maybe Janet told them like, I know what the fuck is going on and I will tell Brittany. And maybe that was enough for them to stop. It really was like night and day and everything went back to normal. And it was all good until we all had to take a class at headquarters. That's a story for next time, bitch. I know. I'm trying to tell you guys. It's like, this happened for months and months and months, okay, bitch? Like, every single part of the story matters. So please don't get mad at me. I love you so much, and I always have the tea for you, okay? I'm a mother, no drama, and I gotta go get my kids. But I love y'all so, so much, and thank you guys so much for being here and chilling with me for story time. If you guys enjoyed it or related to it, I already know what to do with that like button. I would really appreciate it. It helps with the algorithm, bitch. I'm hitting 1 million this year. I'm going to. If you could please help, I'd really appreciate it. I love you guys. Don't be messy, and don't be dating people in the workplace. It's just too messy, okay? But I love y'all. Stay safe, and I will see your fine ass in my next video. Peace out.